Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So the first thing, let me introduce myself. My name is Fitrani Fadila. So in this video I will to explain my thesis with the title Designing a Model of Translation Interpretation Course using Kipsoft Flipbookmaker for English Education Department students. So the first is chapter 1 is introduction. And the first introduction is background of the problem. The teaching materials used are still less attractive and students still find difficult to understand what is in the teaching materials. Students feel bored with the teaching material. They are always struggling like that because they are still quite monotone and difficult to understand. And according to Stone 2018, translation has become more than necessary in today's global society. Translation interpretation needs to acquire several skills to effectively master the process of conveying message from the source language to the target language. And the next is, according to Herawati 2018, electronic models of learning is designed to achieve certain competencies, which includes materials, methods, and learning limits, as well as how to measure learning outcomes. They are structured and presented by utilizing information and communication with technology in the form of the internet and electronic device. And for the formulation of the study, so the first question is, what kind of model is needed by students in translation and interpretation? And the second is, how is a model of translation interpretation course designed using Flipbook? And the last question is, how is the validity of a model in teaching translation interpretation designed using Flipbook? And for the product specification, the product is in the form of non-printed translation interpretation, and this e-module is equipped with interesting features such as picture, animation, audio, visual, music, video, and others, so that it can be used as a good learning e-module to facilitate teachers who will teach translation interpretation. And e-module can assist teachers in triggering student learning motivation. And the last, there are several pages they are equipped in with a front page, content page, and closing page, and menu page, and the function to make it easier to go to the desired page. And for significance of the study, for the practically, this study is also expected to provide teacher in designing a module. It can increase for higher education students' motivation to be more interested in studying. And for the theoretically, these studies are expected to add insight and advance the mindset of researchers and readers. A model can be used as reference in teaching material used by teacher and as a support in teaching, so that it can attract students' interest in learning. So there is assumption and limitation of this study. For the assumption, a model in the form of a flipbook is designed as well as possible so that it attracts the interest and curiosity of students because it is made in electronic form, so it is easy to use and can access anywhere and anytime. So for the limitation of this research is, in this study the developed model used was AD, but the researchers only focus on ADD for this study. And the next, chapter 2, review of related literature. So the first, there are a module in teaching English and translation interpretation and Kipsoft Flipbookmaker. And for the relevant research, it's from Minur Sitomorang 2020, a module developed using Kipsoft Flipbookmaker through the problem-based learning model to increase learning motivation. And then from Heni Solikator Awaliyaha 2021, development of a flipbook-based module to increase student learning motivation on the theme of like. And then Ahmad Fadilah, Diana Pilasari, and Westi Bilda 2021, ebook learning media development based on Kipsoft Flipbookmaker. And the last is Suyasa Divayana and Kristiantari 2021, the effect of digital books based on Kipsoft Flipbookmaker on student learning outcomes. And the last is operational concept. And for designing a model for translation interpretation, the first thing is module. Module is a reference from Kemendikbud 27. They are cover, forward, list of contents, glossary, preliminary, learning activity, evaluation, answer key, and scoring equivalents, bibliography, and attachment. And next is validity of e-module, and from Kemendikbud 27, the e-module use must achieve the specific basic competency, and the e-module use must be in accordance with the learning objectives that have been set. The e-module used in accordance with the learning material, and the learning e-module used can respond to student learning. The module must be in accordance with the interests, needs, and condition of students. And then last is the e-module used must pay attention to effectiveness and efficiency. So the next is chapter 3, research methodology. And the first is model of development. This research was conducted using AD, which was built systematically and based on the conceptual framework of the learning design developed. This model is programmed systematically and inferred to solve learning problems related to learning media that suit the needs and characteristics of students. In this study, researchers develop a product. And for the research procedure, the location in this research is from UIN Suskaria Pekanbaru, majoring English education, and the time is the start from July 2023 and until June 2024. And for the subject of this research, the 6th semester and teacher English education department students UIN Suskaria who had taken translation interpretation course. And for the objects in this research, design a model for translation interpretation course designed by using Gipsoft Flipbook Maker. And for the technique of data collection is questionnaire. So the first questionnaire to collect, analyze data, and document list to design the module, and validation sheet to develop a module. So for the technique of data analysis, there are two descriptive analysis techniques. So the first, qualitative descriptive. Qualitative descriptive will be analyzed logically and meaningfully, and then the second, there are quantitative descriptive. Quantitative descriptive will be analyzed by means of data processing, which is carried out by systematically compiling in the form of numbers and percentage regarding an object under study. So for the next is chapter 4, finding and discussion. So the first is need analysis. To design a module, there are two need analysis. So for the first, student need analysis, and they are found the needs modules that was easier to understand in learning that can be accessed by Android, smartphone, or mobile. And furthermore, students can improve their abilities and direct them to think critically anywhere and anytime, so they didn't feel challenged in learning. And therefore, they support to design of translation interpretation learning e-module using Gipsoft Flipbook Maker. And the second is teacher need analysis. Teacher needs module to create effective, active, and interesting teaching materials so that students feel interested and motivated in learning process. In addition, module is tool used to achieve curriculum goals, and they also need effective and simple teaching materials such as e-module. And for designing translation interpretation module, based on syllabus that reflected the curriculum in higher education, the product is written by translation interpretation lecturer. She has taught translation interpretation since 2007. She has written a textbook of translation interpretation before. And before product produced in digital, the product was designed in printed module. During the process of creating the product, the researcher helped the lecturer to add picture tasks on module. So the first is cover making process. The researcher using Canva application for the design cover, and then preface of module and list of content, and the material of module is the point of module. And after the material, there are the tasks of module. There are two types of tasks. The first is picture and video, and then we next move to developing a module using Kipsoft Flipbook Maker. So the first thing, the process is Microsoft Word convert to the PDF, and then there are module in PDF, and the PDF insert into the application Kipsoft Flipbook Maker, and a module already in the application Kipsoft Flipbook Maker, and a module on Kipsoft Flipbook Maker application and are ready to use the students and teachers. So the next is validity of a module. The researcher using SPSS 24 version, and for the ICC interclass correlation coefficient, for the single measure is 0.113, and for average measure is 0.203, and the result is a poor category. So this research have the limitations. So the first is difficulty in accessing the Kipsoft Flipbook Maker e-module. Therefore, only certain devices can open e-module using Kipsoft Flipbook Maker, but the researchers found the alternative web. The name is Flip HTML5. And the second is the research only conducting one validation in designing a module of translation interpretation. This is caused by researchers' weakness in completing research and the product designed properly and limited time. But this research will be continue with my supervisor, Dr. Nur Aisyah Zulkifli, MPD. Okay, the last chapter is conclusion and suggestion. So the conclusion for the needs analysis: students need interesting teaching material that can be accessed by smartphone, so they can learn independently and easier for students to understanding the material. Besides students, the teachers also needed a e-module, a tools to achieve curriculum goals and teaching material that can be accessed by smartphone, because in digital era we can use this material everywhere, anytime. It is very helpful and efficient for teachers and students. So for design module, the module was designed based on the lesson plan or LPS, which is based on syllabus that reflected a curriculum in higher education. The teaching materials module will be include the selection of the theory, topics, concept, and tasks that are appropriate to the lesson plan. And for the developing e-module, the translation will be designed into an e-module using Kipsoft Flipbook Maker Pro application. Based on the analysis of the result of the validator, the ICC reliability result obtained individual value of 0.113 include the poor category, while the average calculation results obtain a value 0.203 with a poor category. So this indicates that the e-module is not yet suitable for use and needs to be revised. And for the suggestion, e-module in the form of flipbooks are recommended for students and lecturers as an alternative learning media for translation interpretation course that can facilitate students and lecturers in the teaching and learning process of translation interpretation course. Flipbook based e-module on translation interpretation course also developed in other courses. And develop e-module in the form of a flipbook is still not perfect, so it can be a material for future research. In addition, similar research needs to be conducted, namely application development research for other translation interpretation materials, so the student can more easily learn to translation and interpretation or other subject anywhere. Okay, I think that's all my presentation, and thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.